What's up, guys? It's Chaz. It's Charlie. Today I want to discuss the idea of low value men depending on weed. And first, when I say low value men, I know with the whole red pill, blue pill thing, the idea of a high value man is, the guy who earns six figures and drives Bugattis and is basically Andrew Tate. But just for the sake of this conversation, we're gonna actually redefine what is considered a high value man or what is a low value man. So, me personally, I think when you say high value, most men aren't going to be an NBA player, aren't going to be an Andrew Tate, aren't going to be this, as they say, the one percenter. But a high value man is I would say, a guy who's a good father, who is a good husband, who is still successful in his business. Not saying he is a millionaire, but he can make a pretty good living versus whether he has his own business or he works for someone else's business. But this idea of a well-rounded man who isn't stunted in his potential. So what is a low-value man? A guy who isn't a good husband, who isn't a good father, who sits on the couch all day and eats Cheetos and smokes weed and watches porn and plays video games and doesn't have a good drive about himself. So now that we define that, guys who depend on weed, does it make you low value, or does low value guys depend on weed? And so we're in a time of society where men are weak as ever. We're pretty at a weak state. We're very effeminate, if you say. Hold on, guys. Okay, we're back, guys. I hate the fact that dogs have to poop when they walk. You're a dog. Do this too. Anyway, we're in a state now where guys are effeminate as ever. We are lazy. We don't like to work. We don't like challenges. We don't like to talk to girls. And we all, I'm not saying everybody should be this done one and just be this overachiever, but men now don't do anything. We depend on porn. We depend on video games. We depend on all these outside factors, and we don't want to take any action for ourselves. I'm sick of dogs. But yeah, we don't want to take any action to better ourselves. We have become so dependent on these things that we're not actually being the full potential of the man that we can be. Now again, as we grow up in this world, first of all, me personally with men don't want to work. I have never seen such a lazy group of individuals ever in my lifetime. And I'm a millennial. I think millennials are lazy too. But the ones after the Gen Zs, they have taken it to the next level. We feel very entitled. We feel like we should get paid more than what we're actually worth. And we're just lazy. We're slouchy. We don't like to keep ourselves up. I can go on and on. Men are goddamn lazy. So how does weed play into this? So we're in a generation that, of course, weed is at its highest use than ever. And a big part of why people men specifically use weed, and not just men, just anybody period that smokes weed. We say we use it for anxiety. I think anxiety is the biggest excuse for people to continue to do things that they do always. And saying I have anxiety is like saying I have 2 feet. I breathe out of my nose and my mouth. I breathe in air. Everybody has anxiety. Anxiety is not an illness. It's not a disease. It's not abnormal. Everybody has it. We get anxiety all day, from small things to bigger things. It's everybody has it. And we tend to use weed because they say it eases our anxiety. The problem with that is, why are you having anxiety? What are you feeling? Oh my God. I'm going to stop doing these walks with Charlie because all I do is pick up shit the whole walk. But anyway, what are you having anxiety about? What are you at ease about? You know, rather than try to smoke our ways out of the anxiety, why not we find out why we're having anxiety and try to solve it? You know, anxiety in most cases is our body telling us it needs to change something. It needs to take heed to something. And we like to ignore that because it may seem hard to us. And me specifically, we have gotten into the state where we don't like to do anything hard. We don't like to challenge ourselves. We don't like to excel to the next level because it may take a little effort. But newsflash, that's what comes with being a man. We want to be considered this man, whether we want to be considered a man at work or the man at home, but we don't want to actually take any responsibility of being a man, because ultimately we are the head of our households. So when you're the head of a household, you're the head of a company, no matter of the outside forces, of the internal factors going on, whether it's your children, your wife, your employees, it's gonna fall back on you. It's your fault. So let's put on our big boy britches and take responsibility and stop being a pansy. So we get into the habit of using weed as an scapegoat to not try to be our ultimate selves. I would find myself when I would go through anxiety or just want to get high or feel stressed out or get into a argument with my wife or feel like, you know, I'm at unease about today, and I would smoke, and smoking would more so just make me reframe the thought in my mind. And there's nothing wrong with reframing the thought in your mind, but in turn, I wouldn't do anything to actually change it. I wouldn't make an effort to actually make a difference. Whereas we should learn to reframe certain things in our mind depending on what it is. But I think with the absence of weed, you realize you have to make an actual change in your life, make and change yourself to actually get a desired outcome or a better resolution. When you smoke weed and you get high, you say, oh, well, it's not that bad, and, you know, life is okay, and the trees are nice, and the sky is blue, and I'm hungry, and a cheeseburger sounds good right now, so it's not a big deal. But did that really solve anything? Did you take the next step to make a change in your life? And before, you know, people will say, they'll come in and say, well, I'm a high performer at work. I have this, I can do that, and I smoke weed. Weed doesn't affect me like that. And I think the key word I want to stress on this conversation is men who depend on weed. If you smoke weed every now and then, just to celebrate or to let loose, it's not a consistent factor in your life, okay, it's not a big deal. But men who depend on weed, who need weed on a daily basis, have to smoke all day, every day, just to cope with life, let's put the blunt down and better ourselves. Let's embrace the anxiety and make an actual change, and not always look for something to pacify us, because ultimately we just pacifies our mind. We like to say that we can think deeper and have a better understanding if we smoke. And, I've been there, I've done that, I've said these things. But ultimately, when I quit weed, I made so many changes in my life that I didn't even realize that weed was even connected to. And if you can do okay things while you're still depending on weed, imagine what you can do if you didn't depend on weed. So don't hit me with the, I can do all this and smoke weed. No. If you depend on weed, you're hiding something, you're trying to pacify yourself, and you can always do better. Point blank. And as men, I'll go back to, we don't want to do anything hard. We don't want to do anything that challenges us. So if you've been smoking for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, myself, I was smoking about a good 15 years before I stopped. That can be hard to actually make that change and say, I'm not going to smoke at all, ever. That does take persistence. It does take a little bit of work. It does take retraining your brain. And it can be a challenge. But, we should learn to embrace our challenges in life. Embrace the struggle. Embrace a hump. Don't look at it like it's a hump. I can't get over it. Life sucks. What am I going to do? Oh, the world's against me. The world hates men, loves women, and when shut the hell up and take care of your business. And something like quitting weed, it shouldn't be a hard thing. Like I said, I know it can be a hard thing because, again, I struggled with it for a while. I had a urge to quit years before I actually just completely put it down. But as men, we've gotten so accustomed to just pacify ourselves like women and not embrace, again, anxiety, depression, and just take these things as just something that we're just plagued with. No, change it. Let's quit looking for outside sources to help us get through it. Again, there are things like porn that I think personally has caused us to have poor relationship skills, and we're not able to talk to girls, we're not able to find significant others because we're so accustomed to just getting out that dopamine, getting out our orgasm. So there's no need to actually search a girl out, which causing us to not live up to our full potential and find our mate. We're playing video games because we're looking for these obstacles. We're looking for this excitement, these challenges. But with games, there's no real consequences. There really is no real, it's all make-believe. So we get this dopamine by just doing a play challenge and not actually challenging ourselves in our real life. And we just, play games to help ourselves get out of what we think is helping us. And I will say that that's not good for us, man. So how do we change? How do we become this high value man? And again, this man who is trying to be a good father, trying to be a good husband, trying to excel in his job, whether he's working for somebody or you're trying to start your own business. How do we get to that point if we are depending on weed every day? As men, we don't want to depend on anything but God. We shouldn't depend on a joint to help us get through our day. We should pray to our God. And I don't want to get into a spiritual conversation, but we're talking about dependence. That's the only thing we should depend on: God and ourselves. Not weed, not alcohol, not video games, not porn. So if you are struggling with that, try to go a day without doing it. Try to see, okay, can I go the complete day without smoking weed? If you can go one day without it, you can go 30 days without it. If you can go 3 days, you can go a year without it. And it's not physically dependent. You can stop and be okay. So why not stop? Embrace the challenge. Become the ultimate you that you know that you can be. Because we all can be better versions of ourselves. And a better version of ourselves is not a guy who sits on the couch all day and smokes weed. Okay, you say, I don't smoke weed on the couch. Okay, it's not a guy who smokes a blunt going to work. It's not a guy who smokes a blunt on his lunch break just to be able to take a phone call. Let's learn how to be controlled. Let's learn how to control our mind, control our emotions, control our own brain without depending on weed to do that for us. So guys, if you have something to add to this, if you feel like, I'm missing something, comment below, let me know. Until next time, guys, like, subscribe, share. Again, most importantly, comment below. I would like to continue this conversation with you guys. Girls, if you have witnessed something with your significant other, your brother, your father, whoever, what do you feel about it? Until next time, guys, we're all in this together. Peace.